This is the Extreme Stewardship Podcast, where we explore anything and everything that gets us better at making things good and good at making things better. One of the ways we make things better is to make them more orderly, to step into chaos and bring order, structure, clarity. This is one of the biggest ways we do what God created us to do. In the last episode, I said a few things about what order is and how we can put it into practice. In this episode, I'm going to say a few things about how order goes wrong. Now, maybe you're the sort of person who thinks that order only goes wrong when there isn't any. Chaos is bad, order is good, full stop. Maybe you found a lot of affirmation in the previous episode when I said some nice things about order. Maybe you live your life one spreadsheet at a time. Or maybe you're the opposite of that. Maybe you thrive on chaos, or at least you like to say you thrive on chaos. Maybe you listened to the last episode and thought, no, stop affirming the joy-killing nerds. Stop telling them to get even more uptight and controlling and obsessive about every little detail. Well, whether you are an order Nazi or a free spirit, the last episode was for you. The truth is that order is good. But this episode is also for both of you, because the truth is that order can be disordered. Order has a dark side, and this episode is going to bring it into the light. The first disordering of order happens when we wield it as owners rather than as stewards. We feel the chaos, and we rage against it by becoming control freaks. We grab hold of something, anything, just so we can feel like we are the captain of our soul. And sometimes we do this with a direct response to disorder, like when I'm stressing trying to get out the door on time, so I yell at my son who isn't eating his breakfast fast enough. And of course, he responds by shoveling 5 bites worth of food into his mouth all at once, and then chokes and coughs it up and knocks his milk glass on the floor. Yeah, that was helpful. Sometimes we do this with an indirect response to disorder, like when I'm getting micromanaged or jerked around by my boss, so I chew everyone out at home and insist upon loading the dishwasher my way. And now my family is frustrated that I'm frustrated over something that anyone with any amount of perspective on the world would see is not that important. But it's not about the dishwasher. It's about my need to have something under control, something to be ordered the way I want it to be ordered. And by the way, there's a real specific reason this does not work. The reason it doesn't work is that the only way the orderedness of my kitchen positively impacts the disorderedness of my office is if it flows through me. If ordering my kitchen helps me calm down, helps me detach, helps me become the kind of person who is ordered and brings order everywhere I go, that's great. But if ordering my kitchen just makes me feel better because I did what I wanted to do for once, that's not great. The second disordering of order is when we see order as the end and people as the means. Jesus brought this one up when he told us to see Sabbath as existing for the benefit of people, not people for the benefit of Sabbath. When order of various kinds becomes more important than the people with whom we accomplish it or enjoy it, that's a problem. Ever been in a house that was so neat and clean you felt like you'd ruin it just by stepping inside? Ever felt like the workflow was a sacred cow, like the team existed to prop up the spreadsheet rather than the other way around? Parents, ever done a task for your kid instead of training them to do it because it's faster and better that way? Why do I do that? Well, I do that because I value a clean room more than I value the growth and development of my kid. Ouch. Keep the process, ditch the personnel. That's what I'm doing. I'm valuing my sense of order more than I'm valuing the people whom God has invited to join me in creating that order. Not cool. Third disordering of order. I treat order as the entirety of the creation improving project instead of just one part of that project. Order has become the whole goal instead of part of the goal. But God designed order to be accompanied by the other ways we improve creation: productivity, beauty, virtue, and fun. Let's say my kids want to do an art project. The dining room table is going to get messy. When they're done, they need to clean up that mess and restore order. But if I pursue order exclusively, they'll never get to make the initial mess, which means we'll lose out on the productivity, beauty, and fun. Or maybe I'm training a new employee. Order demands that they learn the standard operating procedure. But virtue demands that they know why the SOP is the way it is, so that over the long term, they'll know how the original principles apply or don't apply to new situations. But if I go exclusively for this is the way we do things around here, and I ignore the virtues of wisdom and flexibility and situational awareness, I'm actually going to end up with even more chaos in the long term when those new situations arise. The fourth disordering of order happens when I confuse variety with chaos. Variety and chaos are not the same thing. Sin promotes chaos. God promotes variety. Look at humans, look at birds, look at insects, look at anything God makes and see how absurdly, impractically varied it is. There's no reason why there needed to be so many different kinds of flowers. God did that because he loves variety. The question is, how do I spot the difference between chaos and variety? Now, here's an example. I was at my son's baseball game the other day, and their first inning in the field was the roughest stretch I have ever witnessed. All 9 fielders made at least one error. The other team batted through the lineup 3 times in that first inning. No mercy rule at this age level. The very first batter hit a single and then proceeded to run all the way around the bases in the amount of time it took for the ball to get from the center fielder to the shortstop, to the second baseman, to the pitcher, to the third baseman, to the catcher, back to the second baseman, back to the pitcher. And if you're wondering why in the world that many players touch the ball in that single sequence, well, chaos. We all knew it. This thing is out of control. None of us parents are sitting in the bleachers thinking, oh, I love the variety. Way to make sure so many people get to touch the ball and express their individuality with it. That wasn't variety. That was chaos. Now fast forward in that game to the third inning. All 9 fielders are doing different things. The pitcher winds up, the catcher crouches, the center fielder moves back, the right fielder moves over, the shortstop has his glove in his left hand, the first baseman has his glove in his right hand. A few minutes later, a different pitcher throws the ball with a slightly different motion to a different catcher. This time the outfielders move in, and the shortstop and second baseman are located 10 or 15 feet away from where they were for that earlier at-bat. Well, that's not chaos, that's variety. The difference between chaos and variety is that variety is difference for a reason, while chaos is just difference. Variety is you and I are headed in the same direction, even if the details of how we get there are a little different. One pitcher throws overhand, one throws sidearm. Same team, same goal. Variety says we have the same mission, and our differences in tactics actually support our mutual pursuit of that mission. Chaos says, mission? What mission? I'm just reacting to a very small part of the world that's right in front of me and doing the first thing that comes to mind. Chaos is unconsidered. A friend of mine put it this way: chaos doesn't have a target. So the dark side of order happens when we treat legitimate variety as chaos and therefore try to eliminate it. All pitchers must have exactly the same motion. All hiring processes must be exactly the same. My department of faculty was once told that all instances of a class needed to be identical in terms of outcomes, assignments, readings, exam questions, everything. And it didn't matter if we were teaching a normal 16-week semester version of that class, or a summer intensive, or an online course, no variety. Because the person telling us this was a control freak with a God complex who valued order above all else and mistook variety for chaos. If you are in a position of leadership, beware. Because we walked out of that meeting not only saying things like, that person is a control freak with a God complex, we also said things like, that person has absolutely no idea how teaching works. And can you tell I'm a little passionate about that one? All right, moving on. Last disordered order. When we have the right what, but the wrong why. I bring the hammer down on my kids because I want to be perceived as a dad who has things under control. I was right to require them to speak within a certain decibel level in a public indoor space. I was wrong to do that because it made me feel a certain way about how other people feel a certain way about me. Right action, wrong reason. Or maybe I clean my house because I want a Pinterest showcase home, or because I'm an extreme and extremely unnecessary germaphobe. Again, right action, at least potentially, wrong reason. Right what, wrong why. A lot of the wrong whys have to do with perception. I discipline my kids because I want to be perceived as a dad who keeps his family in line. I clean my home because I want the other moms in my homeschool co-op to see me as having it all together. I'm on time every time because I want to impress my boss. I speak thoughtfully and precisely because I want people to think I'm smart. Now, all of these actions could be the right ones in pursuit of order, but they are tainted by the fact that they are motivated by improving the reputation of the steward rather than by improving creation in alignment with the intent of the owner. Now, order is better than chaos. That's what God thinks, and that's what we ought to think as well. But order has been and continues to be disordered when we use it for harm rather than for good, or for our own good rather than for the good of others. So, pursue order, value order, celebrate order, but don't mistake the means for the end, and don't mistake the part for the whole. And that, I think, is about all I want to say about that. Thanks, as always, for listening to the Extreme Stewardship Podcast. My name is Michael Kibbe, and I teach Bible and theology at Great Northern University in Spokane, Washington. My behind-the-scenes partner in this endeavor is Ben Kibbe, CEO of Kibbe Consulting in Columbiana, Ohio. Our editor-in-chief is Liam Olmsted. Art comes from Leah Lienhoutz, and music is provided by Dave Murray of Derridune Guitars. If this podcast has been useful or challenging to you, shoot us an email, extremestewards@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. If you think it might be useful or challenging to anyone else, well, you know what to do. Ultimately, we hope that listening to this podcast has helped you get better at making things good and good at making things better.